What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dad Needs to Talk. I'm your host, Robert, and today I'm going to be talking about me finally catching up on Akane Banashi and some of my favorite manga that I read this month of October. But before I get into all that, as always, if this is your first time here, then welcome. But if you're a returning listener and or watcher, then welcome back. Y'all know here at Danny's to Talk, it's all about fatherhood and family, manga, anime, TV shows, movies, and some video games. Shout out to the wife for the game over thing up there. So, I hope everybody there has been doing well. Your boy has been highly stressed. I am recording this on Halloween. But yeah, life has been insane. And as always, if you want to jump ahead to, the favorite manga of the month or other things, whatever, I got timestamps in the description below. But your boy needs to talk for just a little bit. Because it's been a couple of weeks, I believe, since I've done an episode. I don't know, time is a blur right now. Yes. 'Cause I think the last episode I did, I think, is when I talked about all the. No, I did the community parenting episode. Dang, on the 17th. When was that? Was that recent? 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and then before that, that's when I talked about Transformers One and the Wild Robot and Astro Royale. Okay, but anyway, yeah, life has been busy. Life has been extremely stressful. My wife had nasal pass surgery about a week ago, and so with that, obviously she's going through recovery and things like that. So for long story short, that basically had to deal with. I think I probably mentioned before on the show at some point in time over the years that my wife has had insane allergy problems. Like, we've been together for 10 years and she's had them, I think, since childhood. So very bad sinuses and allergies, and so she got finally got found a specialist to get some stuff done with that or whatever. Um, but yeah, but with that, with her doing that, lots of recovery and downtime, no heavy lifting, and no driving. Which this is the worst time of year for there to only be one driver, moi, because the same day she had surgery was the official first day of basketball season, and so this last week has just been insanity with the practices, the driving and stuff. Just the day to day stuff, because it's like because it is now fully upon me in the mornings and in the afternoons to get everybody to school and then picking everybody up from school or practice or whatever the case may be. Um, and then this past weekend, y'all, it was insane. So my daughters had their first scrimmages for the school basketball, and so they played six 15-minute scrimmages just back to back, almost from between 10 and 1. And then my son had practice, I think, 1 to 3. Luckily, it was all at the same high school, so my son just came with us, watched his sisters play for a handful of games before he had to go to practice. And then my daughters were in a Zombie Fest basketball tournament for their club basketball team outside of school Saturday night. And so they had games at 10 p.m., midnight, and 1 a.m. So, yeah. So this day they started at like getting them up at 7 for all the scrimmages and the practices and stuff, and then having games at 10 p.m., midnight, and 1 a.m. So we didn't get home until about 3 a.m. Saturday, or going into Sunday, 3 a.m. Sunday, try to sleep as much as possible. But of course, Vash, he's not doing any sports, so he's on a regular sleep schedule. So he was up bright and early Sunday, wanted to come in the room and hang out. I kicked him out once. He came back like an hour or so later. Daddy, I'm hungry. My wife is, so drugged up on her medications and stuff. She's out of commission. So I'm like, okay, Daddy will get up and feed you, I guess. And then it was just like trying to get some sleep where I could in between, because my daughter's had another game Sunday evening at 5. So, yeah, it's just been insane for the last week. And now the actual games are about to start for my older three, whatever. My daughters have a freaking game in Abilene end of this week, which is 2.5 hours from here. I'm not going to be able to go, unfortunately, because I've had to miss like 2-3 days. Yeah, 3 days, um, just to be around the house, helping my wife with the recovery and stuff, whatever, um, and things of that nature. So I can only take so many days off, but it is what it is. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of that now that they're in high school doing high school sports. They're traveling further out. Not to say we've of course we've traveled before. We went to freaking Ohio this summer, and my sons played in Vegas and Tennessee and all over the place, whatever. But this is school wise, we're branching outside of our little district where everything was like 10 to 15 minutes away. So now they're going hours plus. So yeah, so we're about to be in the full swing of that. Uh, so we'll see how I'll get to record. But I want to say that, saying all that to say, speaking of recording, whatever, I was really wanting to do this yesterday afternoon, but it was, oh, you know what, everybody's up and bouncing around being loud. I'm gonna wait till maybe after 9-10 o'clock for everybody to get settled. Well, by then I done been up all day, worked and stuff, whatever, running around and stuff, and so it's like 10 o'clock come. I'm like, I think I'm gonna get in bed. And then here we are. But I kind of want to try to get back to carving this time out for myself and kind of reminding myself, and I might do a whole separate episode on this later on, but just like remembering my roots and keeping it simple when it comes to doing the podcast and stuff, because sometimes I try to get too fancy and too cute because like, oh, I wanted, because like last month, I did like a whole separate favorite manga I read of September thing or whatever, and I was like, oh, maybe that can be a thing I'll do every month or whatever. Come on now. I just told y'all the insane week I've had, and we're not even fully in full run mode with the season and stuff, whatever. Um, and so it's just like, well, I was already going to do a regular episode anyways. Just freaking just do them together. Like everything ain't gotta be special stuff, whatever. Because like at the heart of it, this is just a podcast for me to talk about what I want to talk about. And hey, some weeks I might talk about a convention I went to. Some weeks I might talk about some cool shows I'm watching. Some weeks maybe some games, and some weeks some manga, and some weeks that we just talking life, like I did with the community parenting episode last time. But yeah, so that's just like I said, like a thing, just like reminding myself to just stop overthinking it, just keep it simple, consolidate things, whatever, keep it simple, um, and stuff. So yeah, but otherwise, things are as good as they can be. Work is still keeping me very busy and stuff on top of all the stuff I got going on here at the house. Um, but yeah, so like I said, I hope y'all are out there doing well, because my brain is cooked. All right, and so with that being said, I guess I'll go ahead and jump into some of the stuff I want to talk about today. So yeah, with things being so insane, like I don't think I haven't really watched any anime. I don't think any this last week or whatever. Because originally weeks ago, my plan was, oh, okay, I'll do my fall preview episode, and then I'll take a couple of weeks to catch up on the rest of the stuff from summer, which I did watch a couple of things, and then I'll do an episode on that, and then blah, 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 blah. But life happens, derailed all them plans. Haven't watched any anime, current or older, or whatever, for like the last week and some change, and that is okay. Um, but yeah, cause yeah, I've just slept, slept and read manga because that's pretty easy and accessible for me to do on my phone or my tablet, no matter where I'm at. Um, and yeah, and I picked up a couple of indie games earlier today that I'm kind of interested in diving into because I saw what's his name, Ariel Knight, the developer behind We Never Yield, which is a really cool runner type of game. He had made a post about like 8 or so games he picked up on PSN for like $30 collectively, and he made it just a post about like man, people talking about they can't ain't nothing worth playing or whatever, and he's like, man, I got all this cool stuff whatever for $30, and it's like, well, people don't really, they don't look towards indie games and stuff whatever that often. And so, yeah, so it was a couple of things that he had on there that I was like, oh yeah, I was gonna get that anyways. And when I saw, oh okay, it's on sale even cheaper than last time I looked. And then I even found a couple of other things. So just a couple of things I just wanted to shout out. Like I said, I haven't even played these, but just something that hopefully, if they're good enough, I'll probably talk about in a future episode. So of course, I just got to shout out Cuphead. Me and Vash are still playing through Cuphead co-op mode and stuff. Still having fun, getting our butts kicked, but we have been triumphant one step at a time. We've knocked off several bosses since I originally talked about it about like a month or so ago. So that has been very awesome and very joyful. The other thing we've been enjoying too is the weekly Astrobot speedrunning levels that they've been putting out. Today's Thursday, so I haven't looked at the new one yet, but that's been like a very fun and awesome treat to look forward to every week. This this new Astrobot level, just sitting there waiting for us. And then something I do want to put on y'all's radar. So a handful of things have come out in the last couple of weeks because like Silent Hill 2, the new Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and Metaphor Fantasio. Now, Metaphor, I told y'all before that that's the new game from the Persona people. So if you're interested in that, there's a pretty meaty demo out for that. Uh, and what Black Ops 6, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 just came out. And if you're on Xbox and you got Game Pass, it's on Game Pass because my wife has been playing it since it came out last week or whatever. She's been like chipping away at the campaign, and then her and her old crew been reuniting, going back into the multiplayer and stuff. So my wife has been having tons of fun with Black Ops 6 because it is on Game Pass. So something maybe put on y'all's radar because she when I've mentioned this before, but when I first met my wife 10 years ago, she was hardcore, super heavy into Call of Duty. But just over the years, she eventually went more towards Apex Legends and stuff, whatever. So she hadn't really played a Call of Duty in at least a few years, and um, so this was the perfect storm of, hey, it is now on Game Pass, so we ain't gotta shell out the extra $70, whatever, just to try it out. Because that's been the things like she's been curious about it, but not wanting to pay that full amount. Especially because she has a Xbox Series S, which is digital only. Because at least if we got the disc, we might be able to find a cheaper sale at some point in time, and then maybe even sell it back with her. But it's like no, digital. Hey, once you commit, you got it or whatever. But like I said, she got it off of Game Pass, and so she's been really enjoying that. And then what was the other thing? Dragon Age: The Veilguard came out today. Seeing some mixed reviews and stuff on it, but if you're interested in it, that's out now. Uh, oh, and for Monster Hunter fans, there is a demo out right now for Monster Hunter Wilds, the new Monster Hunter game coming out. I think it's coming out in at the end of February 2025. So they got a free beta right now. I know it was like if you had PlayStation Plus, but I think it's open to everybody now. So yeah, so check that out. I downloaded it and I made me a very awesome looking character. Let me see if I can pull her up. Okay, those of y'all watching the video version, this is my created character uh, that I made on Monster Hunter Wilds. Shout out to the character creator. made me a monster hunting baddie waifu, but she looked very beautiful. But I named her Faye, and I named this Palico cat thing Coco after we have a pet cat named Coco. But yeah, so but now I think they had I believe it's the intro of the game or whatever, and the intro is pretty slick whatever, like the way like they like I love like the seamless transitions. Um, whenever a game is getting you into the action and stuff. Uh, whoops. But like the actual gameplay and fighting whatever, I probably just gotta like put more time into it to get used to like the flow of it or whatever because like I know like Monster Hunter is kind of like a acquired taste or whatever type of thing, but man, I was like, man, like, I really just want to like be like hacking and slashing and stuff, whatever. But it's like a whole different type of control scheme that I'm just not too familiar with and stuff. So, but like I said, I still want to at least like shout it out, put it on y'all's radar. Those of y'all that are that might be more established Monster Hunter fans and stuff, whatever. So just so that y'all are aware that's out there if y'all wanted to give that a shot. And so last couple of just like gaming things I just want to just mention real quick because I said I just wanted just to mention like a couple of things that I picked up. So the three indie games I picked up, one was called a Minute, uh, Trigger Witch, and Timothy and the Mysterious Forest. So hopefully I'm gonna get to try those out soon, and maybe I'll be reporting back um, in the coming weeks and stuff. Next time I get to record and stuff, whatever. So, but yeah. So that's it as far as gaming stuff, whatever. Like I said, just wanted just to put that stuff on y'all's radar and stuff, whatever. Just as a gentle reminder. Um, so yeah, so like I said, I haven't watched any anime, so I don't have any updates on anime stuff to report on. But TV show watching, I will say, just shout out to the Penguin. Like we got I think they said two more episodes left of this season, and it has been very good, very good. And so I look forward to seeing maybe how they lead up or set up stuff for the Batman second movie or whatever, however they might name it or whatever. Um, I want to go back and watch Agatha All Along because I heard that was actually really solid, so I want to go and watch that. Um, I know that the Dune TV series is about to start soon, and I think it's is it? I think Silo season 2 is also starting in November. So it's a handful of like live action like TV show stuff, whatever, that I want to check out soon. Um, but yeah, so that's all that's on my radar. Oh, speaking of Disney and stuff, whatever, they had put up their like a teaser trailer thing, whatever, showing stuff like first clips of like the new Daredevil show, Ironheart show, uh, What If season 3, and a few other things, whatever. So they look kind of cool. I think it's like a Wakanda kind of animated series or whatever. Um, but yeah, so lots of stuff to look forward to in the coming future. So all right, so moving on from there, I kind of want to just touch on some kind of like spooky theme stuff, which this will also tie into the manga stuff as well. Because I've mentioned before, your boy, I don't really do much with horror and spooky stuff, whatever, too much. But I like a good thriller, or I might enjoy stuff that might be at least like, kind of like light horror type of stuff, whatever. So, but I kind of found myself checking out a handful of things that are kind of horror related or horror tangent, I guess you would say, whatever, or at least just kind of just like maybe just like good vibe stuff for this time of year. So one of them I want to just shout out, and I already talked about it before, but just gotta show it some love again. Okay, so welcome to Demon School Iruma. It's just kind of like one of like the first things that I've watched recently that kind of fit this like horror vibe, or just like a spooky vibe, whatever. Because obviously it deals with this kid um, getting adopted by a demon and then living as a human in the demon world and stuff, and all the adventures and stuff that he goes on. So I sung his praises a while back, but I just had to circle back to it because something, and this goes back to what I was talking about earlier with like keeping things simple and also kind of like enjoying things at your own pace, because there is such an influx of video games and movies and TV shows and anime and just general life stuff, whatever we want to do and experience and see, whatever, that it gets overwhelming to try to keep up with everything. And so a lot of times it's like, okay, I've heard about something or whatever, but I'm gonna put it in my back pocket till later. And that's what Aruma was for me, to where I've been kind of interested in this series for a while from a distance, but I don't know, it was just like a month or two ago when I started watching it. It was kind of just like the right time and the show that I needed at that moment in life, because it it is lighthearted, but it also it has like some intense action and slightly darker moments here and there. But overall, though, it is fun. It is just a fun and chill watch, because between the amazing character that is Aruma and his supporting cast members, because I think I might have mentioned this before about how it reminds me a little bit of the vibes I got from My Hero Academia, just with Deku and Class 1A and all the supporting characters and teachers and stuff, whatever. Kind of a similar vibe, in which I think, hey, if you like My Hero, you probably will like Aruma. Like I said, just because of those kind of like tangential similarities and stuff. But yeah, Aruma, this was kind of like the right show at the right time for me. Like I said, at the time it was 3 seasons with like 20 plus episodes a piece, whatever. So I watched like 60 something episodes or whatever over the course of like a month or whatever. But yeah, so welcome to Demon School. Rumakun is one that I recommend. So yeah, so just a great, fun, wholesome time. Like I said, one that I highly recommend, that y'all check out. So from there, I think I'm gonna go to you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about this one next. Okay, so this will kind of like go into some manga and stuff, whatever. So, um, a horror related manga that I've read, and I think I might have shouted it out when it was first announced, but I just read it like a week or so ago, or I've read it since the last time I recorded, and that is Resenter, by Gigi Murakami. Now, Lord, my kids just got back. I think they're supposed to be ready to go trick or treating with their great grandmother. So apologies for all the interruptions, because I'm pretty sure more are going to be coming as I'm hearing the pitter patter of footsteps coming towards my door. But but yeah, so Resenter, like I said, from Gigi Murakami. So she is a black comic artist who I don't know if I can't remember if me and her got to speak directly um, when I saw her, but I at least got to be uh, in her orbit, I guess I should say, at a convention. I think that might have been 2 years ago, I believe. Um, and so she does fantastic artwork and stuff. But of course, with it being horror stuff, whatever, I didn't really dive too deep into it because I'm like, man, I don't really do horror, but I do appreciate just from a distance the beauty of the artwork and stuff. So yeah, so Resenter is a series that she did a one shot for Viz, and so basically, if it does well enough in Viz, then it gets a chance to get published as with a full serialization and stuff. And so basically the kind of like setup and theme of Resenter, I guess I kind of like really like a little bit of the blurb. In a world where Rippers help the recently dead seek vengeance, one Ripper will discover a fate even worse than death. And so basically, when a person dies in this world, they are greeted by a Ripper, and the Ripper basically presents them with three options. It is basically like one, you just accept that you died and pass on. Um, Two, you seek vengeance, in which the Ripper will go and get revenge on the person that killed you. But until that happens, you were basically stuck in basically limbo. You don't go to heaven or hell. You're just stuck in like the in between limbo or whatever. And then the third option is you become a Ripper yourself and help others, basically doing what she is doing, what the main character is doing. And so that was a very interesting uh, setup and premise, and just even just like some of like the things that get set up in it, to where the main character, she'll get assigned a person or whatever. Oh, actually, hold on. I think I'm getting stuff mixed up. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry, I had to get like a brief refresher because, like I said, y'all, I am so tired and my mind is all over the place. But anywho, one of the things I loved about this one was just basically just the the internal struggle that our MC Jackie kind of just like goes through with some of the situations that she's put in, when it's like, okay, because like example, like, okay, she, the person chooses to get revenge for their death or whatever, but then it's like along the way, it's kind of like questioning the path of vengeance and different things like that, as far as like, okay, well, you find the killer, and then you learn the circumstance of the person that might have killed the person that hired you to, get revenge or whatever. And then sometimes it kind of puts Jackie in these awkward positions where it's like, well, her job is to get revenge because this person chose to get revenge or whatever. But then it's like getting more context and background for what led to the person's death or whatever can be kind of screwed up or whatever. And it's like, man, like, okay, like this was an accident, or this shouldn't have happened. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, you still got a job to do. And so just saying like those type of questions post, as well as kind of like trying to find out more about Jackie herself, and learned, some origins and background as far as like how did she become a Ripper and all the things of that nature and stuff. So yeah. So shout out to Resenter. Shout out to Gigi Murakami. Go check it out. It is free to read on Viz, both on the website or the app. Free. Go check it out. Go show Gigi some love. Um, and also, I believe on her YouTube channel, she did like a behind the scenes thing talking about the process and stuff, whatever. Kind of this was not an overnight process, getting to work with Viz and stuff. So make sure to go check that out as well. So next thing I want to shout out. Let me see. Let me go through this list. Okay, I think I'm gonna do this one next. Okay, so the next up on my list is Manhole Volume 1. So Manhole by Tetsuya Sutsui. This one is published by, I believe it's the publication is Kana. Uh, so this was a very, very interesting read. So this is another one in the kind of like, what is this one? Kind of like a biological horror type of a series where basically you have this parasitic infection that kind of in a way, in a little bit, kind of reminds me a little bit of not all the way, but some vibes of like a Last of Us, to where it was like a small situation got out of hand very quickly. And so basically, the setup of this follows basically it kind of opens up with just this naked dude popping up out of a manhole cover in the middle of town and then bumping into a random civilian, coughing up blood on him, whatever. The guy freaks out, bashes this dude's head in, and then these two detectives, get involved on trying to solve the what what was initially thought of, just like a murder or whatever, into what turns into like a parasite, biological, potential pandemic thing on the horizon. And I this is kind of like the level of horror and thriller type of series I don't mind, just because like one of the things that I enjoyed about reading this is just sometimes I like, when you kind of get information that the main characters don't know or whatever, or you kind of see, okay, well, the detectives are over here trying to figure stuff out, but then you see what's happening out in the world and like how fast this parasite can rapidly, grow whatever, because like certain things might happen at the beginning before it revealed that the civilian that got coughed on or whatever was getting sick, and then he's with his girl, having some adult time or whatever, and so now, you know, because they want to get freaky or whatever, now it's spread to her, and yeah, so it's just like this domino effect, but the stuff doesn't happen immediately, whatever. It takes at least like a day or so for it to cycle through and to show signs and all that stuff, whatever. And so yeah, so it was a very interesting read, as well as kind of basically, and also kind of like you also start to get information about how this all started, like what was the initial setup thing for getting the wheels turning on this situation and stuff. So, but yeah, so Manhole was a very, very, very interesting read. Okay, so this next one I am very excited to talk about, Leviathan, by Shiro Kuroi, also published by Kana. So Leviathan is a manga that I read maybe a year or two ago. This was long before it got licensed and picked up or whatever, because I can't remember. I follow so many cool people that put me on to new manga and stuff, whatever. And I think more than like, I think I maybe saw like an image of Leviathan mixed in with some other stuff, whatever. And I was like, ooh, what is that? And so yeah, and so I was very happy when I saw earlier this year that this officially got licensed and stuff, whatever. So because and I forgot to mention this, so Manhole, that's going to be a short series. It's only 3 volumes long. Same thing with Leviathan, 3 volumes long. Now Leviathan, I've already read it. I read it online, like I said, years ago, whatever, from start to finish. Fantastic, fantastic, start to finish, whatever. So we have volume 1 out now. So basically the setup for this is you have, so it's a sci-fi kind of like horror, sci-fi horror thriller type of thing. So you basically have this crew that goes around space, and they basically scavenge and salvage, abandoned spaceships or space stations and stuff, whatever like that. So they come across this old ship called the Leviathan, and first off, I gotta say, like the art of this series looks so good. Like that was the thing that caught my attention from like the panels and stuff I saw of it years ago. Whatever, I was like, "Ooh, what is that?" And then like when I actually read it, and then it just came out in stores this week. But last week when I went to Barnes and Nobles, shout out to them, they had this and Manhole uh, already out on shelves or whatever. So I was able to pick up Leviathan. And like just like flip through the pages or whatever and just like see that beautiful artwork in person. But yeah, so it follows this group of guys that scavenge ships or whatever. So they come across this big ship called the Leviathan, and they find this. I believe it's like a diary or something that basically was like detailing what happened. Okay, so yeah, so the cool thing I loved about this series, reading this, is that it basically is like um, a dual storytelling. So like I said, like they find this diary, and it was of a middle school student named Kazuma, and so basically his class was on a school trip, whatever, to Earth, and then basically tragedy strikes where something hits the ship, and it's basically just like a fight for survival, and as you read through it or whatever, you start to discover that there is a basically like a cryogenic pod that has one person in it. And so as you're reading the story, so you're getting the perspective of the looters reading this diary as they're going through the ship or whatever, and then you're also getting flashback story of what happened and bits and pieces, and of course like what happened from the storyteller's perspective, from the kid who wrote the diary or whatever. And so it is like such a thrilling read because like I said, like you're following these looters as they're going through this destroyed ship, while also kind of like getting this parallel flashback of these students or whatever, and just seeing basically just like how quickly crap hits the fan and things turn violent and turn into a fight for survival. And then in the buildup of, okay, who is the person that survived in the end? So yeah, so Leviathan, super awesome, definitely worth checking out. So yeah, so Leviathan, like I said, I'm so happy to see that this one got a physical release. All right, so next up, just a little update on Snowball Earth Volume 3. Man, this series continues to be so good, so good. So I'm not going to get too deep into it, whatever, because obviously this is Volume 3 of it or whatever, but if you want zero spoilers, skip ahead to the next manga. But yeah, so Snowball Earth pretty much picks up where things left off at the end of Volume 2 with this this group of the Light of Erd coming to attack the school and stuff. And so pretty much this one from during their start to finish was just straight action as we see, Tetsuo uh, trying to take on these different Lord, what are they called? The space kaiju and stuff. But now having to deal with these class of ones that have special abilities and stuff, whatever, and they're what are they called? Tamers. I think they're called tamers. I'm gonna call them tamers. Um, but yeah, but all in all, like I said, it was a very cool read, and like I said, kind of like getting to see these people fighting with their basically their kaiju partners and using their different freaking abilities and stuff, whatever. So it was super fun. It was a super fun read. And once again, I hope that Snowball Earth gets put on the Viz app sometime soon. The same way like they did with the Steel of the Celestial Shadow, which I need to catch up on that soon or whatever. So because they just had a new volume of that come out. But yeah, still of the Celestial Shadows on there, and lots of some other recent new series too. So yeah. So shout out to Snowball Earth. Go check it out. It is a fun read. And they are not afraid to kill characters off. I'll just say that because which I kind of expected just from even like the bit I've read with the harsh nature of the world and stuff in those first two volumes. But now they were getting like human on human, like direct combat and stuff, whatever. It ain't no, oh no, I got hurt and bruised. It was like, nah, you got obliterated. You got turned to ashes. I saw the ashes crumbling on the panel. But yeah, so shout out to Snowball Earth 3. Okay, so next up is Blade and Bastard, the manga adaptation. So this series has a very interesting collection of people working on it. So the story of Blade and Bastard is being done by the same author who did uh, Goblin Slayer, and then the character art, or the character illustrator, is the character illustrator who does Overlord. So yeah, so you got the people behind Goblin Slayer, and Overlord teaming up on this series. So the basic so the setup of this, which I think there's also an anime already announced for it as well. So that'd be pretty dope if they can be knocked out. So I will say up front, like violence and brutality wise, same level you get in Goblin Slayer or whatever. But so far there hasn't been any like crazy assault stuff like with Goblin Slayer episode 1. We ain't had no craziness like that or whatever, but we do get limbs and decapitations and stuff, whatever like that or whatever. So yeah. So the situation of this. So I'll read the synopsis of this. So deep in the depths of the dungeon, a man spends his days scouring the treacherous floors for bodies of dead adventurers. His name is Aramis, and he has no memory of the life he lived before he was resurrected from a corpse. The living keep their distance from the cold, sullen man. Aramis consorts primarily with the dead. That is until he meets Garbage. Yes, there is a little girl named Garbage. Uh, a feral young swordswoman who is the sole survivor of a massacred party. With Garbage by his side, Aramis ventures farther, searching the dungeon for clues to his past while avoiding the inevitability of a permanent ashen demise. So just from that premise alone or whatever, you can kind of see how this can get brutal. So obviously with the artists and stuff that are working on it, character designs, the art in general look beautiful. This is published by Yen Press, if I guys mentioned that. But this was one that was really solid. Because like it mentioned, you have a main character who was resurrected, but he has no memory of how long he was dead or anything like that, or where he was before this or whatever, or how he ended up in this place. So you have that angle of mystery or whatever with the story, and then you have this young girl who is the sole survivor of this party who is very proficient with the blade. She is not afraid to slice and dice people and stuff. Um, and so yeah, so it's kind of a fun dynamic of these two mysterious characters adventuring together because Aramis, pretty much just came across her or whatever because she was being held captive as a slave or whatever. Where they just basically just used her to just go out and do their dirty work, but they had kept a leash on her or whatever. But he freed her, and things happened to her holders, and so she just started just following him around or whatever. But yeah, so Blade and Bastard, pretty solid first volume, and we'll definitely be interested in seeing more of this, regardless if I read it or if the anime ends up looking good. So we'll see. All right, so a slight tone shift, but still with the spooky vibes. The next one is Otaku Vampires Love Bite Volume 1. This one is published by Viz Media, and the series is written by Julieta Suzuki. Okay, so before I read the synopsis of this, so the author of this also did a series that some of y'all might know from back in the day called Kami-sama Kiss. So same author doing this. And so this one was such a fun, sweet, wholesome, with a little bit of edginess to it in the background, lemon in the background. Basically, so you have this vampire named Hina Avocado. She's a vampire in the modern age, who she doesn't like drinking blood directly from people. She drinks from a blood bag or whatever. So her dad doesn't like it or whatever. He's like, no, it tastes better when you get it intimate with the person and from their neck and da da da. She's like, dad, that's gross, blah blah blah. So anywho, so so she's a shut in for many years or whatever in her room, and during those 30 years of being a shut in, she let me just read the synopsis. Uh, Hina Avocado is a modern vampire who drinks blood from bags instead of from humans, but she's also a complete shut-in who hasn't left the house in 30 years. In an effort to reach her, Hina's dad does something that changes her life. He gives her a DVD of the Vampire Cross anime. And so, jumping off from there, so her dad gives her this anime DVD. She falls in love with the series, becomes a super fan, becomes an otaku, and she ends up moving to Japan to live out her otaku dreams or whatever. And so she ends up meeting her next door neighbor who looks identical to the main character of the anime series that she loves, whatever. But he's kind of a butthole sometimes, whatever, at least on the exterior. Uh, and so they end up forming a fun friendship, or whatever, where you know at least starting off, he doesn't know that she's a vampire. She's just some weird neighbor girl who is too obsessed with this anime stuff, whatever. But just throughout the volume, whatever, you just kind of just see their friendship and stuff start to grow, and you also get to see there are more vampires and stuff. They kind of get introduced. Some of them that are right under our noses the whole time, whatever. And so that kind of creates a very fun dynamic while reading it of now it puts in the back of your mind like, okay, who else might we encounter that is secretly a vampire and that has been getting close to her neighbor because they also or they are wanting to, you know, take his blood and turn him into a vampire and all this stuff, whatever. So yeah, so on the surface level, it is just like a cute, fun series. But there are some moments where things kind of get a little bit more intense. Nothing super crazy, nothing different, nothing like any of the things like I talked about, like with Manhole and Blade and Bastard, or nothing crazy like that. But there are some turn up moments where Hina taps into her vampire lineage, so to say. And also, speaking of which, it leads to like some very, very goofy moments of like a mild one. I'll spoil. There's a moment where these two and some of his friends are at a amusement park, whatever, and somebody or like so another person is a vampire, and they discover or they think that she is trying to get close to him, or whatever. And so when they're up on this super high roller coaster ride, they shove her off, hoping to kill her. But she just lands on the ground, like, "Oops, I fell." And so everyone's like, "Ma'am, are you okay? You fell off of this freaking roller coaster." And so there are moments like that where somebody tries to do something to her or whatever, or to the guy, and she kind of, her being a freaking vampire, just create these like comedic moments throughout and stuff. But yeah, but all in all, Otaku Vampires Love Bite. And shout out to people like Laura A. Grace and some other people who read this and spoke highly of it because honestly, I don't really read too many romance series or whatever, but I've been getting more into different romance and different things like that or whatever over like the last year, especially since I've been on the podcast. I've been opening up my palette and stuff to different things, and so this was definitely one that I was like, you know what, I have access to read it. I'm gonna check it out and read it or whatever, and it was a very very pleasant surprise that I'm glad that I gave a very honest shot. So I highly recommend that y'all do the same. So shout out to Otaku Vampires Love Bite. This is definitely one that I can see in a couple of years. If it gets an anime, it's gonna be a fan favorite hit with people. So so I think that might be it for the manga I read for the October manga I read. Let me double check my list. Okay, yeah. So that was all of the like the newer manga I read. So I'm gonna end the show talking about Akane Banashi. Just like a quick shout out. I ain't gonna go super in depth into it or whatever. So Akane, this is one that I have been eager to, but it goes back to what I said earlier, waiting for the right time to to uh to dive into something. So because y'all know I've talked about it before on previous episodes and stuff about how much I loved this series when it first came out or whatever. But it just kind of just like went to the back burner a little bit, and I let some chapters build up. Well, hey, I let over a year's worth of chapters build up because I was about 75. Yeah, I was 75 chapters behind. So, because I think I had stopped around like the 60s. And so by the time I caught up over last weekend and then read the most recent chapter, which was 131. So I read from like chapter 60 something to chapter like 131, 132. So it was a beautiful, beautiful, emotional roller coaster of chapters. And I'm just going to kind of just like flip through just like the author and the artist. They are just always so fantastic with these freaking volume covers and stuff, or these chapter covers and stuff. But reading through these, and there was like one thing from like recent chapters that I like mildly got spoiled on, which kind of sucks, because it's like okay, I was kind of just waiting for that moment to happen or whatever. I was still surprised when it happened, but I still kind of like, and I guess I'll just say okay, I might be open to spoilers for anything between chapter 60 something to 131. And I guess I'll say just for context for anybody that might still be listening on this part or before I get into spoilers or whatever, that might be like, okay, I enjoyed some of the other manga that I just talked about that I read recently, whatever, like, Otaku Vampire or Leviathan, whatever. Okay, what is this Akane Banashi? So this series basically follows a young girl who is trying to be a Rakugo artist. I guess is the best way I can say it. And it's basically just like a form of like solo storytelling, so to speak, to where it's just like just a person on stage with maybe one small prop or whatever, like a fan or something or whatever, and they tell a story by themselves. And so sometimes it has like multiple characters, or whatever. So the setup for this series is that the main character Akane, if you're watching the video version, she is the young lady with the black hair with the pink tips or whatever. Um, Basically her father was a Rakugo artist, and he was going up for a promotion to the next rank, and everybody in his class or whatever all got failed and kicked out of the organization or whatever. And so she basically went into it as like a path of revenge to show like no, my dad was amazing and the way he does things, his art was great or whatever and stuff. So that's like the setup. So now I'll get into like the current stuff, whatever. So reading through these chapters, man, was so good, and I love, and I think that this is a series that does for me benefit from a bulk read. I don't know. This isn't one that I don't think can be truly appreciated for myself in a week to week format, at least like for like a long stretch of time. I can do maybe a week to week for maybe like a handful of weeks or whatever, but like I can't do week to week all year round or whatever. And this 75 chapter plus read was perfect example of proving that point for me, whatever. But because just kind of getting to see like all the performances, all the drama and stuff, and the ever expanding cast of characters, and how everybody is kind of like finding their own approach to the art form and things of that nature and stuff. So, but yeah, so it reading through these chapters and stuff, man, and kind of getting more backstory into her father, who her father was beyond just him as a father. And that was a part of the story that she had to kind of like learn and, try to, embrace because, like, okay, well, I've only known him really as just my dad. I don't know him as a person. And not that in a bad way or whatever, but it's just like for her to truly grow in her art or whatever, she needs to learn more about, her father and, and more context for the situation that led to her, um, led to her father and his team getting kicked out. And just, man, like these newer characters that got introduced, like Chocho, he was so freaking cool, man. Just like his introduction of him being like in like a suitcase, or whatever, he pops out or whatever because he's such a famous performer that sometimes he has to sneak into the arena or whatever. He always does it in like different creative ways or whatever. But shout out to the Akane Halloween cover from last year. But yeah, and just like seeing like his performance and stuff, whatever, was super dope. How he kind of does his stuff based around these dice and yeah, man. I feel like I'm just rambling along, but going through these chapters and seeing Akane continuing to grow and to hone her craft and to uh, get better at her performances and stuff, and finding her own flavor and way of expressing her art form and stuff, whatever. It was just like it was just amazing. That is like the best way I can say it. And this is a series that I don't know how. I would like to think that it would translate well over to an anime, but because I feel like they could do some very. I feel like they could do some very fun things with this in an anime, or whatever, especially with the performers telling these stories or whatever, with like the different art styles, or whatever. I feel like if done right, it could be fantastic as an anime, but it could be easily, botched and mishandled. But yeah, and so kind of getting to the more recent stuff. So Akane's been doing good, and another thing I love about this is, and I talked about this before because this was something that I loved about Kingdom when I read it years ago. Whatever, I'm hundreds of chapters behind on Kingdom, but one of the things I loved about Kingdom and the main character Shin is the realistic passage of time with the story to where, okay, you have a big battle, you have a big arc or whatever, and then there's a cool down period where, okay, the characters go home and, they have some downtime, they're training and stuff, whatever, living life. And then it's like, okay, time to go back out on a new expedition, on another war or whatever. And it's happening over the course of time. So you're realistically seeing the character growing up and them getting stronger stuff makes sense. Because I've talked about it before, like, as much as I love One Piece, whatever, it is kind of like a super big suspension of disbelief with how much stuff Luffy and the crew have done within such a short amount of time. Because, like, oh, everything that happened on Dressrosa, there was like 100 plus chapters. Same thing with the Wano, and well, not okay. I'll say with Dressrosa, all that happened in pretty much like a day and a half. At least Wano, that was kind of like over like some days and weeks or whatever. But you get my point. And so Akane has done the same thing to where like when the series first began, she was finishing high school or whatever. And so now at this point in the story, whatever, I think she's about to turn 20. So it's been, almost 2 years in universe or whatever. And it makes sense for how she has grown as a performer in her work or whatever. And I love that about this series or whatever. And I love how they don't make a big deal about it or whatever, but they all just kind of mention in passing or whatever. It's like, okay, yeah, it's been, a couple of weeks or a few days since that last performance or whatever. And they kind of give like some like mile markers along the way of like, okay, hey, we're training or we're studying for so and so's big promotion performance in March, where it was like, okay, well, it's November now. So it's okay, that's 5 6 months away, 5 months away, whatever. And so you get this progression of time and stuff. So yeah, so that was like an awesome aspect I wanted just to point out about Akane. But like I said, like the continuing um expanse of the cast of characters. I just love everybody. I love all the characters, um, and how they are all playing their part in, especially like the older cast of characters, whatever, kind of helping her gain more insight into her father and the background of everything, whatever. It's just too good, and so it kind of leads us to the build up of all this stuff with the current situation where she was kind of preparing to basically she just got taught this kind of like this like almost forbidden but kind of like legendary story or whatever from basically her master's master, um, that was passed down or whatever. But in the midst of that or whatever, while they were studying and working on it or whatever, her master has basically like a version of like a heart attack, so to speak. But yeah, so her master basically had a I can't remember if it was really a heart attack or what, but he collapsed at the house and now he's in the hospital, and pretty much like things like went from 0 to 100 super fast to where each show basically they made the decision to disband their school or whatever, and that each of that master's students, I can't remember his name. Okay, yeah. Master Shiguma. So pretty much they made a decision, Isho, that all of his students, whatever, they're gonna disband his school, and then all of his students would be dispersed upon the other remaining masters or whatever, and that Akane would go under Isho himself. And so at that moment, when that moment happened, or when that moment or that when that was spoken, it kind of gave me vibes a little bit. Obviously, nowhere near the same situation or whatever, but like similar vibes of like Thorfinn having to live and train under Askeladd. That is how that situation felt to me, uh, with that or whatever. And so things kind of the last chapter I read kind of just left off with we're getting into a flashback of Shiguma and Isho coming up and learning about their master, they're coming up whatever, and kind of like the origins of this feud and everything that's going on that potentially led to her father getting exiled and all this stuff, whatever. And another thing that I enjoyed throughout these chapters or whatever, like I said, like meeting other mentors, whatever, other masters, like meeting the guys that like came up with her dad and stuff. Um, that was super cool to see. Which I think it was this cover. Yeah. Yeah, these guys. Um, and then her father, of course, coming back into the picture because he had been overseas working or whatever, or out of the country, wherever he was. And so now he's back in town. He's back home, and he got to see her perform in person for the first time and stuff. So, but yeah, man, Akane is fantastic, and like I said, this was just the perfect storm, the perfect time. Like I said, because I read this during that insane, crazy weekend I had the other week, and like I said, since I didn't watch much any anime or whatever for like the last week or two, or whatever, this kind of fit in perfectly to where I could just kind of just like read some chapters here and there between all the moving around and stuff, whatever I had to do. So, but yeah, so shout out to Akane Banashi. I'm super happy to be caught up, and I'm caught up at the right time. Like I said, I kind of just wish I didn't get that mild spoiler about something happened to Shiguma and that she was going to go under Isha or whatever. But, aside from that, the rest of the 75 chapters was fantastic, man. Fantastic. So, highly recommend. But yeah, so I think with that, I think I am done. Let me see. Yeah, yeah. Talked about all the manga and stuff I wanted to, and gave some shout outs to gaming stuff, whatever. And yeah, so with that, I'm out. Just did a little over an hour, so not bad, not bad. But I hope all of y'all out there are doing well, staying safe. Y'all will probably hear this after Halloween's over, but I hope if you went out and went trick or treating, I hope you had fun and you were safe, and stuff. So yeah. So with that being said, I'm supposed to go try to chill before I get back into craziness or whatever. So, but as always, thank you so much for watching or listening. Y'all can find me everywhere at Dad Needs to Talk. And as always, I got ideas and stuff cooking or whatever. It's just waiting for me having the right space and capacity to properly try to execute on a lot of these things or whatever. So, but I always appreciate y'all for rocking and rolling with your boy throughout everything. And so, with that being said, as I always say, treat yourself to something nice, read some manga, watch some anime, TV shows, and movies, play some video games, and of course, live your best life. And with that, I am out. Happy Halloween, end of spooky season, and as I'm rocking my favorite Benny Maru Fire Force hoodie. And with that, I am out. Y'all have an awesome day and rest of your week, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.